Welcome to the Any Given Chance podcast. Stories about passion and sacrifice. What actually goes on behind the scenes in the consistent chase of everything. We're going to bring you some untold stories, some of people you know, some of people you don't. These stories that we bring on with our guests are nothing short of inspiring and will get you out there chasing your own goals as well. Join me, your host, 3am 365, Matty Menyon, as we dive into these incredible stories. And of course, as the podcast grows, so do we together. So stick with us from the start, hit that like and share, subscribe button, get your family and friends involved, and we'll see where we are in 100 podcasts. No days off, no excuses. Massive shout out to our sponsor, Squad Athletica. Guys, this training gears, you've got the training singlets, the shirts, they've got absolutely everything. They've got the 12-inch shorts, the 16, everything that you need for the running. It doesn't stop there. They've got yoga mats, they've got drink bottles, they've got you covered at all bases. I'm telling you, this training gear is rivaling Nike, it's rivaling Under Armour, it's at the forefront. And the best thing about it is it's right here on the Gold Coast. So it's a supportable local business. You can jump over to their Instagram. It's at SQD Athletica, or you can jump online and check out their shop, Squad Athletica. Go through, select your little things, what you want to buy, new hoodies for winter, whatever training gear you need, and then type in your AGC code at the end, which will give you a little discount. That's AGC in the little coupon code. Can't thank you enough, and make sure you get out there and get in your squad gear. Woo! Big shout out to one of our sponsors, Black Rose Barbers. That's right. Go see Liam and the boys over at Black Rose Barbers. They're located on Lakeview Boulevard over at Mermaid Waters, right in between the Good Life and the 7-Eleven. Walk out of there feeling $1,000,000. The boys can cut hair, and he even does the cutthroat razor if you want to feel really fresh and fit on a Friday. You can book online at blackrose.com, or you can get on the phone and give them a call, but go support your local business. And the best thing about Black Rose Barber, you can sit in that chair and talk maximum amount of crap. You know why? Because the boys have got the answers. They'll solve the world's problems with you. I'm telling you now, they're a bunch of legends. Go support them. Tell them Matty from AGC sent you. And we are rolling live. Any Given Chance podcast about passion, sacrifice, what goes on behind the scenes. This brings us into Steve Woolley, man of many talents. How are you, bud? Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good, mate. Really good.
That's good. Like I said, man of many talents. I'll always watch you spinning the decks. Old school too. Know how to do it all.
Vinyl. Got
that vinyl,
yeah.
Got that feel about it. You're also a man who owns an under 3-hour marathon. Very impressive. What's that? How many kilometers? What pace is that kilometer?
I think it was about 4:12 average a K.
4:12.
42.2K, yeah.
To get under that 3.
Yeah. Well, it's 4:15 average to get, I think, 2:59.50 or something, but it worked out mine was about 4:12, 4:13 average.
Hectic. So what did you end up beating that by while I got you on that?
2:58.20, I think. And,
Going to do it again?
We've got 6 weeks to go, and I might as well put it out there. I'm going for as close to 250 as I can go. Yeah.
What's that? 4-minute Ks?
Just over 4-minute Ks, I think. Yeah.
Mate, and I've gone backwards. I ran a 3:14, that one that you come down and give us a hand with.
Yeah.
And since then I've been injury plagued, back on 20 kilos, and I'm sitting around 5:20 Ks. Yeah. So you're going to have a minute 20 every kilometer on me. That's insane.
Yeah. You'll get back there.
I will. It's time.
There's no rushing it with running.
No.
I've learned that over the last few years. You've just got to slowly build. As soon as you try and go quick, try and start banking heaps of Ks, something breaks. Like, you've just got to slowly layer it.
Mate, I can't agree more, because when I did do that, it was that virtual run because they cancelled it because of COVID. And I was actually happy because I knew I wasn't quite there. So I put in an extra 4 weeks. There was a window where you could run it. So I put in an extra 4 weeks of training, and I knew, okay, I'm peaking here. I'm feeling good. But that was a year and a half of doing that. Just running in that heart rate zone.
Yeah.
Don't care what speed I'm running 10 out and then trying to turn it up and build speed on the way home. But it took a year and a half to get there.
Yeah. So long and slow is the way to do it. And then when you do your sessions, rinse yourself in the sessions. But then when you're not doing the sessions, just slow and slow.
Yeah. And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy what you're doing. Take in the scenery, breathe, listen to your podcast.
Try and run with people. run at like conversational pace. And like I run every Sunday with a big group of guys on the north side of Brizzy, and we'll run 2.5 hours. And sometimes I'll look down at my watch and be like, it's done.
Yeah.
Don't even remember doing it.
Yeah.
Like we've just been laughing and joking and carrying on, and do that on your own.
Yeah.
It's an absolute slog, but do it with a big group of guys. It's just fun.
That's what the boys at Tap Tap Tap, we get started out, obviously like 6-minute Ks or something like that, just cruising.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, Mannion, what's the story of the week? And that usually takes about 4 or 5 Ks, and that's our warm-up done. They're all like, we're halfway through the warm-up.
Yeah, so. That sounds a bit like me. I'm the one in our group that's always just doesn't shut up. I'm telling them stories about when we were in Ibiza in '98, or there's podcasts.
Yeah, it's podcasts on podcasts.
That stuff, like,
mate. This is actually the purpose, mate. I'd really love to stick with you on your journey as well, especially coming into the marathon. I'd love to have all your boys, because you're also the owner of Eat, Sleep, Run, Repeat. Well, not the owner, you co-host and produce with all the boys. Yep. Big shout out to the Barton brothers. Sorry about that, boys. Steve. Yeah. It's all Steve. Like I said, you're a man of many talents, but we want to go on that journey with you today. But I know there's a story, because you're also growing up Muay Thai fighting. And I know there's a title fight in here that had a bit of adversity to it. I remember listening to you tell this story. And I was just like, wow, there was so many times that you could have pulled out. There was so many reasons.
I wanted to.
There was so many reasons to just go, no, like everything's up against, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. And I feel a lot about this within my life. Sometimes, I just spoke about, I was stoked that the marathon it got cancelled because I got another 4 weeks to prepare, where a lot of times in my life I wasn't ready and I should have just pulled the trigger. I would have, looking back now, I'd rather would have failed and had a go than not do it and keep putting it off. Case in point, 100-kilometer run. I had that in my head. I was doing it. The marathon landed it. And I was just always, I just need another 4 weeks. So I just need to prep a bit better. And then 8 weeks later, I ended up going backwards and it never happened. And now I've got to do a year's worth of work to build up into that point again. So within your story of this title fight, that resonates. There was so many times where you could have just said, no, this is going the wrong way. And especially in Muay Thai fighting, boxing, chess match, Muay Thai fighting, lethal, elbows, knees, kicks, it's another level to fighting. Why did you, and how did you, I guess we'll go back to the start, take up Muay Thai fighting?
I'll try and keep it short, but a long story short, my sister's boyfriend, when I was I would have been about 15, 16. They've been married now for donkey's years. But he was one of the original, there's a gym in Brisbane called Nuggets Thai Boxing Gym. It's the best gym around. It's been going for probably one of the oldest gyms in Queensland for Thai boxing. And my brother-in-law, Justin, was one of the original guys that trained with Nugget. And he used to teach me how to hold pads for him at my house, at my mum and dad's house, when we lived in Bunya. So from sort of like 15, 16, 17, I could hold the pads pretty good for him because he just taught me, if I'm going to kick, hold it a bit more like that. So I sort of got pretty good handy on the pads. And I wanted to like do Thai boxing as a sport, but I was running a lot, which is, it's a whole nother story as well. But I was running heaps. And my parents didn't really like the idea of, fighting and that. So I never really got into it, but I was really interested from then. And then we went to the UK in 1998, and that's when I started kickboxing in the UK. So it wasn't like Thai boxing. It was back then it was above the waist kickboxing, but it's very, very similar, but just not kicking in the legs really. And that's how it sort of started. And then I had a fight in England in 1999, and then I come back to Australia in 2000, and I did what you shouldn't do as a young fighter. I sort of went into it, went partying, come back, went partying, come back, went partying, and then
doing the old drift in or young, dumb,
just the worst thing you can do. Like I should have just focused, stuck on it. But being I'm still am so into my DJing and that. The two worlds sort of don't mix.
They don't at all, do they?
And I'd be partying, and then I'd get fit, and then I was kind of always staying fit whilst I was partying, but just you can never focus on one or the other. Cutting a real long story short, I did have a few fights on and off in Australia. And then one of my mates died. You might actually know him. You know, Matt Kappa
Yeah.
Caltabiano. Yeah,
Yeah.
he died, and it was so sad. And
That was his brother died as well. His father had to bury both the boys, something that my father should never have to do.
Both on motorbikes.
Yeah, both on motorbikes. I remember the T section that he got cleaned up. I remember going to the funeral, and just that was the first time I'd be put into perspective as a young person, because, you know, when you're young coming up, you're just, you know, gung-ho,
you just
Superman.
think you're going to live, nothing. Yeah, you think you're going to live forever. Nothing can ever go wrong. And then I just realized that life can be over in the blink of an eye. And I thought, I've got to start chasing my goals, because I'm just sort of drifting a little bit. And then I thought, well, I never really knew how far I could have gone with Thai boxing. And I think I was about 28 at the time. And I'm sort of thinking, I could be too old, but I might have a bit of time left, you know. And looking back now, I was heaps young enough. But at the time, I'm thinking, I'm too old to be fighting 20-year-olds. And
how is that? Like, that happens in rugby league as well. I remember getting told at 21, oh, you're too old now. And I'd only just been back playing rugby league for 3 years. Like, I went surfing until I was 18, and then one of the boys said, come back, play footy. And I ended up playing Queensland Cup and doing all that. So I just remember 3 or 4 people going, oh, you're too old, you're out of the system now. And I'm thinking back now, and maybe it's just us like older guys who want to hang on to our athletic ability, but I would have much rather been hitting my peak at 28 to 33, 35 with my man strength, rather than getting injured trying to play men when I was 21 and 21 to that 25. I mean, I had 120 kilo guys running at me. I was 83 kilos wringing wet, trying to eat as many steaks as I could to gain weight,
to bulk up,
to take that impact in rugby league. And it's the same. You don't even get your fight smarts, you know, until you've got those years of experience, and then you start seeing things differently. I just don't understand that mentality. So everyone drums it into everyone as well. You're not too old, especially nowadays. Like,
you've just got to, you know, you take it a bit more seriously with your diet and how you live. Like, don't go partying and stuff. You can really extend your career in any sport, I reckon, if you just live like an athlete. And that's kind of what I did. So I went from being like a bit of a crazy party animal to just living clean, rarely drinking, you know, like in between fights I might have gone out once or twice. But so basically I started training at a little gym in Redcliffe. Yeah, that's kind of how it all kicked off again. I just was like, I'll try and get fit to start with. And then 1 week went to a month, went to 2 months, and I'm feeling, you know, the weight started coming off. Not that I was like hugely overweight, but I was a bit out of shape. But I got fitter, I got stronger, I got a bit more confident. And then the fitter I got, the better I was learning. And then Robbo, the coach, said, mate, I think that you should have a fight, because the younger guys, if they see you jump in the ring, he said, they'll probably all want to do it too. And I was like,
But isn't that weird? Like with fight gyms, you can be in a gym where there's amateurs and there's pros, but the way you structure a fight gym is you get some animals and some killers and some pros in there, and then everyone follows that. You don't do that. Rugby league, you don't do that. You don't see under sevens training with NRL players. You know what I mean? The structure of it's completely different. But in a gym, in a fight gym, you need a killer. You need someone with that animal mentality to lead the pack, and they don't have to interact. Or how's the Aussie interact there? They don't have to, like, you know, go and coach these under sevens, but they need to have their presence felt, and everyone needs to understand who they are and what they're capable of. And everyone's like, okay, there's levels to this game, and I need to be at that level. Yeah,
mate. When I trained on the Sunshine Coast at Joe Hilton's gym, whenever there was a fight show and they would have the weigh-in at Joe's gym, he would have like, I'm pretty sure he'd do it on purpose, but he would do the pad with Kurt Finlayson in the ring, and mate, watching Kurt do pads with Joe is just
scary.
Yeah, it's the noises. You know, he's kicking and he's like bang, 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 and and he's just got like a phenomenal gas tank. He can do 5 threes on the pads. You know, hardly puffing, and all the gyms are just sitting in their own little groups watching, just going like. And but you're dead right. That he was kind of that when I was training with Joe. He was the top dog, and everyone just, I mean, he's a hell nice guy. You could talk to him. He'd talk to anyone, but
Yeah.
everyone was in awe of him, and
Yeah.
you kind of needed that to you. You're sort of working out shit. That's what I got to do to get better is train like him, like an animal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So coming into there before he like sort of suggested you fight, how many fights had you had overseas and all that?
I'd had like, I guess what they would call a few amateur padded fights in the UK, but I'd had like 3 fights, I think 3 full contact fights. Yep. And then I had that one. And it was like, there was 3 of us from the gym ended up fighting. Nathan, who I do the running podcast with, he started training with us. And then there was one other guy, Blake, and we went to the show and everyone just expected that we would lose, and all of us won. And we were just like, oh, and then the gym just lifted.
Yeah.
The atmosphere in the gym was like, everyone just started getting more serious. I noticed when I was watching the sparring, stand back and the young kids are trying to take their heads off, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Because they know the system works, or you don't know if the system works until you get in the ring, but they've seen you boys implement it. And it's like, wow, like we're doing the right thing here. If they're winning, this is a winning formula. Let's get into it.
Everyone got a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And then that confidence just like, and a bit of success breeds more success. And then it just started snowballing. And then within a couple of years, we had a gym that was we were just doing so well, like always winning. We'd lose the odd fight, but mostly winning, And then, so it's probably 6 or 7 fights later. Maybe 5 fights later, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but we got the call, and I go to training one night, and Steve Robbo, the trainer, says, "Oh, mate, you've been offered a Queensland title fight." And every fighter has you dream of having a belt wrapped around your waist at some point, even just one that you can put on the mantelpiece. It's there forever. And I was like, "Oh, that sounds good. Who against?" And basically, it was against the guy who was Cam Hilton was his name. And I remember I'd seen him fight at a few shows, and he was a weight division above me, but every time I watched him fight, he was just scary. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God, he, never told anyone, but I was like, oh, thank God he's in the weight division above me, And he said, oh, it's against Cam Hilton. And I was like, oh, nah. Tell him I'm pass on that. And he was like, oh, man, I really think you should do it. I was like, nah. I said, oh, an easier match will come up surely, And then I went home and I'm thinking about it and went back the next night to training, and he's like, oh, have you thought about it? I haven't told him no yet. And I'm like, yeah, it's a stitch up, mate. Like there's no way we'll win that. You could win every round and probably lose on points. And I was just like, it's just not a good matchup. Let's just say no. And and Robbo was just really, he was like, oh, I just wanted you to just say, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to have a go. And I was like, yeah, I'll keep thinking about it. And then I went home and I was laying in bed all night thinking,
that mind starts ticking. What if I could do it? Hey, what about this? And all the scenarios. Every scenario.
Because my first instinct was that he was too tall, too big, too strong. And then I was like laying in bed thinking, oh, well, maybe if I could do this, I could get around that. And you start, like exactly what you just said, you start thinking of all these different scenarios. And then I went back to the gym and I said to Robbo, like, tell him I'm keen. I'll do it, And I thought if I lose, I can always say at least I fought for a title. I could tell everyone, I did all right. I got to Queensland title level and lost, but at least I had a crack, sort of thing. And and then we started training and like specifically preparing for a big, tall kicker because he was a really good kicker. He was a real good puncher too, but he was good at everything. He was good all round, but I was more worried about getting kicked in the head and push kicked in the face and all that. So we were sort of working on, like slipping and feints and all that sort of stuff. And
just to stuff up his rhythm, you know, and make sure that it wasn't just bounce, what else?
Try and make him miss so you can get close enough to hit him and then get out. And I was training really well. I was running most mornings and I was probably doing 2 or 3 morning sessions a week, plus training every night. Like, so Monday to Friday, every night I was in the gym. And then Saturdays I used to train with Nathan Barden. He used to have his own gym in Everton Hills called NKA. So every Saturday I'd train there with him. And like now I look back, like, oh, geez, we were so fit. You know, the amount of training we did was probably way too much, but we were just like, I've learned so much from doing all the running training. You know, the 80-20.
Yeah.
80% is just nice and easy, and your 20% is hard. Whereas when we were Thai boxing, it was just.
But mind
every
you,
night.
yeah, I say that, but when I was overloading and training and ridiculously fit, I'd get to game days and nothing bothered me. Like nothing within the game. I was never blown out. I was never gasping for air or anything like that. So it has its benefits. Running's a different kettle of fish. It's a different beast, I believe, because the impact and the consistent impact and the long time out there that you need to be, especially in your distance running, I believe is completely different to 3 rounds, high intensity, high heart rate, pressure situations. Same with rugby league, high intensity intervals, basically suck them in, breathe, go again, for 80 minutes or 40 and 40, long, repetitive. Yeah. I know what you're saying. And you just like basically agreed with what I said. It was, you're overtraining, but rounds came easy. Everything came easy back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I think you need to train at that level to be at that level. I think that's overtraining for us now, looking at it. But people who are in that zone, in that 0.001%, it's not overtraining. It's who they are, and it's what they need to do to maintain that level of fitness where you're at, because you're at a completely different level of fitness at that stage in your life.
Yeah, I used to try and, like, I'd do one day that was like sort of more heavier on punching, and then the next day I'd try and do more kicking, just to give your shoulders a rest. Like you just end up like almost like getting really seized up just from punching so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just really, really, really hard training, loads of running, and I think it would have been 5 or 6 weeks of training specifically for that guy, and then. Like I think I was walking around at about probably 73, 74 kilos. If I was fit, if I'd blown out a bit, I'd be sort of, 77, 78.
What was the fight at?
Kgs. And the fight was at 69 kilos, 69.5 kilos. So I'd gotten down to, I think, I was sort of at the gym the week of the fight. I was probably around sort of 71 kg or something like that. So I sort of trimmed off the last like couple of kgs, and the fight was on the Sunshine Coast. So we got to Sunshine Coast, and I was with my old mate Liam Badger. Shout out Liam. He did really well in his career. He's not fighting anymore, but he's still a really good mate now. Me and Liam Badger got to the weigh-in because he was fighting too. And just as we're about to walk into the gym where they're holding the weigh-in, Robbo, the trainer, comes down to me and goes, "Oh, how you feeling?" I said, "Oh, gasping for a drink, but good." And he goes, "There's a change of plans." I go, "Oh, what?" He goes, "Oh, Cam Hilton's broken his rib sparring this week." And I'm like, "What? How could he have broken his rib? What was he sparring for?"
Week of
the
the
fight. He goes, "Oh, I don't know. It's happened." He said it's he can't fight. He's really injured. But he said you can still fight, and they're still going to let you fight for the belt. It's just against a different guy. And the different guy was Ryan McDonald. And I'm like, "Oh, man, Ryan McDonald, that's worse than the Cam Hilton. I didn't want to fight him.
Out of the pot and into the fire.
I certainly don't want to fight Ryan, because he was a fair bit more experienced, and he was shorter, which probably really suited me. But I think he was a better fighter. And I was like, "Oh, let's go and just do the weigh-in, and I'll make a call after the weigh-in." We both weighed in. We shook hands, took photos, all that sort of stuff. And I said to Robbo, like, "We've sold so many tickets. I'll just do it." Because he was like saying, "Listen, mate, I understand if you want to pull the pin. We can just go home and forget about it."
You've prepared for a completely different fight of a completely different fighter. And old mate sort of would have had an inkling that he's the backup. And he could be coming in. So he hasn't come in just off the streets. He's been training as well.
Yeah. I'm saying to Robbo, like, "Mate, this is a dead set stitch up. This guy's been the replacement guy all along, you know.
Yeah.
And
the rib was broken 4 or 5 weeks ago.
I mean, that might not have,
but
might not have happened, but this is the sort of thing that happens at fights all the time. And that's why I've been saying for years, if anyone had any brains who's got money, they would start a reality TV show about Thai boxing in Queensland. Well, probably in any state, but in Queensland, there's the amount of drama that happens in Thai boxing. There's arguments over weights, decisions. There's always drama happening. Like it's a crazy sport. It really is.
Yeah.
So we've got the change of opponent and
So what's going through your head then? Like, is it just yes, no, sold tickets? Because a lead up to fight week, like if you're having a fight, these for the people who haven't had one out there, my whole mindset, the whole time you're training in that is different. It's focused on this one point, on this one day, on this one opponent, and everything you do. It doesn't matter if you're at work, because 90% of fighters still need to work, and you being a chippy or something like that. But your focus isn't on your work. Your focus is on what needs to happen in training, or how you're going to get through this fight, or how you're going to beat him. And then that
works right at the bottom of the priorities.
Priority. And then that fight week, is a different feeling as well, because you're confident. You've done the work. You might have a few little self-doubts creeping in, but if you've done the work, you're reeling to go. And then to have adversity like that, oh, by the way, you're not fighting this bloke. You're fighting someone who's better.
Yeah.
What was that? What was the sleep that night like? Like, what was the mentality?
We were staying at my wife's parents' house at Moffat Beach, and I remember I just was watching Family Guy DVDs, just trying to take my mind off it, because I just couldn't stop thinking about it. You're going through every scenario, like, I could win, I could get really badly beaten up, or I could get hurt. How am I going to go to work if I get really hurt? And then no, I'm not going to. In your mind, you're going, I'm not going to get hurt. I'm going to kill the guy, and you're trying to like pump yourself up. But I didn't hardly sleep. I had maybe 2 or 3 hours of just sleep that was just like a bit of sleep, then half awake, half asleep, and then next thing you know, you're driving to the venue and you're just like, oh, okay, you feel alive, man. It's nuts. And there's a really good YouTube video out, Cowboy Cerrone doing an interview talking about what it's like just before you walk out to fight.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and he's saying, you're hitting pads, you're trying to warm up, but nothing feels good. Like everything feels uncoordinated, and you feel tired and sluggish, and all you want to do is sleep. It's the craziest feeling. And sitting out the back of a fight show, you just look around the room and you just know everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone's scared. Everyone's trying to act confident, saying to their mates, oh, yeah, I'm going to murder this guy. I'm going to kill him. Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, you're going to smash him. Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah. But inside, you've also got a few doubts coming in and that. Yeah, it's just so weird, because you train, you're hitting pads and stuff, and everything feels good. And then when you're warming up out the back, you feel heavy, lethargic. And then next thing, your music's on, you're walking out to the ring, and the moment that you've been just constantly thinking about in your mind over and over again, you're in the ring under the lights. I miss it. Like, I really miss it. I'd love you can't do this sport forever, but yeah. And then you're just face to face with the boogeyman, the guy that you're going to have to go to war with. And it's just mad. You're looking at each other in the eyes, just trying to figure out, maybe they might just look at the referee for a split second, and you sort of think, I've got one up on you. And you're hoping that they're scared, but they're not scared.
The walking out, the under the lights, the feel of it, the whole, you're standing there ready to go to war. I used to, in rugby league, in my fights, I only had 3 fights. So all of them for me is a blur. Your first fight is an absolute blur. Yeah. Your second fight, you think you're going to do something, but it's still a blur. And your third fight, you're like, okay, I'm starting to understand this, but it still goes that quick that you don't have your process set down after. Yeah. Rugby league was different. If I didn't have a first touch, or if I didn't get involved, that lag that you said, that, the heavy feeling, it just used to stay with me. I used to have to get a touch or get tackled and it instantly
hit.
Yeah, instantly in the game. Or even in fighting, like you
Yeah.
said, even in boxing, just a jab or something like that, just something. Like I nearly walk into like something just to get tapped a couple of times and go, all right, here it is. I'll get game on. I was lucky because I was a halfback. And one of my main, pluses, what I brought to the team was talk. I didn't shut up for 80 minutes. This is why I got a podcast, because I don't shut up. From word go. I mean, from 10 minutes before the game, I would not stop talking. This is where we're going. This is how we're doing it. This is what I need you to do. This is where we're going. This is where we're going. Then we're going to attack here. And once they do this, then we're going to attack there. And if we're down there for good ball, it's going to be this set. And you just need to stay out there and just direct and traffic. That was my job. So I felt like in the game.
Directing traffic.
What, mate? I'm telling you, if you've been on a rugby league field with some big boys, they need directing. I'm not doing what they do. I'm not running straight at nobody, I tell you right now, but they need directing because our fitness levels are completely different to a 120 kilo guy. So he doesn't need to think. I need him to, do a job. I need him to punch through the line and get us a quick play of the ball, or, take a hit up where no one wants to take a hit up. So if I'm doing the thinking for him and telling them where we need to go or what part of the field, well, then that's a job that they can relinquish to me. And all good halfbacks should do that. A lot of quiet halfbacks have a lot of talent in the world, but if you don't have your talk in rugby league, go on. I don't think you're much chop.
You need a loud voice.
Well, look at even Tedesco from the back. This is why he's so good. No one watch him and Tom Trebojevic, the two guys off the ball. If you go to a live rugby league game, watch them barking and directing traffic. Those guys control the game. Now you add in a halfback controlling certain other things, and that's how rugby league teams work. You know what I mean? It's all talk. It's all communication. It's all going through that. But back to the fight and then that first touch, you know what I mean? So it's one of those moments, like you said, the energy, like coming between two people and staring them in the eyes is crazy. So what was like, so this was all the things that are going through your brain, like leading up into the fight. And then your next minute, you're on the way in there. What happens? How many people are in the corner? What's the setting? What's the scenario like?
Well, the fight show was in it was in a car park of the Dewporth Tavern on the sunny coast, which on the flyer it just said Dewporth Tavern. So I figured it was just going to be in like a function room or something. And then we were like in a car park, like, it was pretty like Fight Club style.
Yeah. No open sky?
No, it was like the concrete ceiling above. So it was underground.
Sorry. Oh, is in the downstairs one?
Yeah. So it was like you drove down into it. And
they set up down there.
Yeah. It was like a really small ring. It wasn't it was like, I think there's two different size rings. It was a smaller size ring, which maybe helped me out. I don't know. Yeah, so we were warming up. It was freezing cold. Like, the temperature was really cold. We're warming up and you can just hear people screaming and cheering. Someone gets hurt, the bloodthirsty crowd. And you're like,
what about the different levels in fight crowds as well? I mean, there is some like downright dirty, like, fucking kill him.
Yeah.
And then you've got like people who love the sport who are athletes and they're like chest match.
Yeah, they're watching watching the techniques and stuff. Yeah.
And then you got all your mates. Some are like there to support you. Others are there just to get absolutely blind. And like it's a mix of different humans all coming together in one place. So.
I went to an MMA show once in Redcliffe. It was an MMA and Thai boxing in a cage, and I'm sat in the crowd, and one of the best ones I've ever heard. You can swear, eh? I mean,
yeah, mate.
Yeah, this guy about 3 seats over was just continuously screaming, "Fucking hit the cunt! Fucking hit the cunt!" Like they're punching each other, like.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think I'm in there to do, mate? That's like the age-old rugby league one. Oh, he's been doing it all day.
Yeah.
that's the equivalent in the fight game. Just fucking hit the guy.
What do you think he's trying to do, mate? He's not trying to tickle him. Like,
no. Oh, man. And he's got a Bundaberg rum in his hand.
Yeah, for sure. He's had about 10 of them already.
3 teeth.
Yeah, so then we were in the ring looking each other in the eye and there's nothing to fear anymore. You just got to get the job done. And the first round starts and I'm thinking this guy's just he's got better skills than me, more experienced. I'm trying to be confident, but I'm thinking he's going to have an answer for everything that I try and do. But the first round, get through the first round, and I sort of was feeling like, man, I can't think I won the round. Like I was in shock. So I walked back to the corner, and Robbo's like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, good. He's like, you won that round. I'm like, and then I started thinking, oh, hang on, like this is going all right.
Yeah.
And then the second round, I felt like I was kind of winning the round as well. At the end of the second round, I'm thinking I could be just edging ahead on points here, but it's the guy I'm fighting, it's his gym's promotion. So
Yes.
like I'm thinking hometown guy, you've really got to win to get the decision. And I'm like, shit. Like I was hoping to just sort of like manage my energy throughout the 5 rounds because it was the first time I'd ever fought 5 rounds. And so in the third round, I wanted to kind of have a round off, just try and save a bit for 4 and 5. But I'm thinking you can't take a round off because it's their show. You're going to lose. So the third round, I put my foot on the gas. Like, man, it took a heap of balls to not coast through that third round. I actually went for it in the third round. And about halfway through the third round, I was pressuring him. And this is something that like most fighters will know what I'm saying here is like I was pressuring him, and usually you're just kind of butting heads in the center ring. No one wants to give in. You kick, they kick, you punch, they punch, and you're sort of both trying to evenly
1 for 1.
You don't want to let go. But I threw a couple of shots and he took a backward step, and I thought he's slowing down. And then I just was overcome with like a wave of like this nice feeling of like, I'm in control now, And then I caught him with a really big right hand, and I thought he's wobbled. He was blinking. I remember he was like blinking his eyes a bit, and I didn't know whether he got some shit in his eyes or if it was just because I'd like tagged him with a good shot. And then I thought he's wobbled, so I went pretty crazy. I started swinging a few wild punches, and he like caught my kick and just dumped me. I landed on my backside. It kind of knocks the wind out of you. You land flat on your back. And I jumped back up and I thought, calm down, win on points, don't go silly. And then maybe 10 seconds later, we had a little exchange of punches, and I landed another good right hand, and I backed him up onto the into his own corner, and I threw like a left uppercut straight right, and the left uppercut just, like you could practice this 100 times and never land it. The left uppercut just tapped his chin up a little bit, and I threw the right, like just planted my feet and went bang as hard as I could, and it just went whack right on the tip of the chin and knocked him out. And I was just like, I run to the neutral corner because I figured he's going to jump straight back up, and the referee went like that.
Was waving off.
And I was just in disbelief. Like, I was like, oh my God, I've just won. Like, it's just the maddest, the best feeling ever. I walked around the ring, like just.
Who'd you look at first? Like in that corner? Do you remember? Do you remember like looking at someone going?
I think I just did a circle of the ring, like, just with my hands up, just like
this. Yeah.
And then by the time I got back to like sort of my own corner, everyone was in the ring, just jumped all over me. And then I was like, oh shit, is he okay? So then I've gone over, and he was fine. He was like, oh gee, you got me with a good shot. I'm like, yeah, shit, sorry. Like, but you were going to do it back to me.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. And then next thing, they're wrapping the belt around my waist, and I'm just like, I just couldn't believe it. Like I won 3 Queensland titles and 2 Australian titles by the end of like when I stopped fighting. That's what I'd won, and none of them. Oh, the Australian title was really good. That means a lot to me as well. But it'd be hard to top that first Queensland title.
Yeah.
That was just epic.
The emotions that come with it, the changing, the million times you could pull out, the caliber of fighter that you thought was above you, and out of the pan and into the fire, which you thought on game day, on fight day, coming in there dehydrated, after you cutting, because 69 and a half, training, 4 weeks out, what were you saying? You're 76, like
I probably would have been like maybe 74 kilos average if I was semi-fit, but then I would really struggle to get under 72. So those last few kgs was always just like I'm living on rabbit food, during the week. I mean,
and you're putting in effort training, so you're like just depleting your body to get down to that weight.
Running with hardly any fuel, Like you're so susceptible to getting sick.
Yeah.
Like there's so many better ways of actually cutting weight that like I learned towards the end of how to, water loading and all that. Like that wasn't even a thing back then. Like no one knew really about that. And that's basically where you just drink heaps and heaps of water and just cut it down over the week, and the weight just comes off you. Like it's so much easier. But a lot of times you lose the weight in the sauna and it just ruins your performance. Like you feel dreadful on the fight night. Like you hear the craziest things of guys losing 10 kilos in the sauna, and then like how are you supposed to put on your best performance when you're so drained like that? And yeah, I was pretty smart. I never went too light. I fought at 66.8 once. And there's a funny story to that, but I won't talk about that now. But I had a shocker after I made weight. I went and ate loads of food and stuff, and had an accident. But but I'm mostly stuck around 69.5 kilos, and that was I was comfortable at that. Even that was a struggle, that'd be hard to top that first Queensland title. And it was just it was like a moment in my life where I realized that like shit, if you really knuckle down, concentrate, you can do anything. I don't think I had that self-belief until then. And then I realized sometimes roll the dice, and if you're doing the right thing, the universe just looks after you. I think. And I think with athletes is you get like a small window of your life where that stuff happens. Like I've been watching that Netflix show about golf. Have you watched that? Oh, it's about the golf tour, and it's like it's following some professional golfers, and there's like some real young guys who are just winning. They're chipping in from 50 meters away, and it's just going in the hole. And they train heaps, but they don't. It's just sort of happening for them, and then it's sort of following a couple of the older guys on the circuit who are doing way more in training. They're doing all the 1%ers to try and stay at that level, but it just doesn't seem to happen for them. And I've got this theory that like sports people, athletes, competitors, whatever, you get like a real little window where everything goes good. So you just got to capitalize on that. And then once it's kind of over, it's just really hard work.
It is. It's like that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? I know I've had that probably, I reckon, I want to say 3, but honestly, probably 2 times in my career. I'd say 3. I say once in rugby league. I said once when I ran that marathon. I was in like a year and a half ago. I was in that Goldilocks zone, like nothing. Yeah. Everything I ate was perfect. I was humming. And I remember the thing that broke me, and it was it was 2 things actually. It was a lettuce leaf from an organic farmer's market, and I felt sick as a dog off eating it. And it was a low carb bar about this big, and I thought I'd just been perfect for like 20 weeks or something, like even longer. And I allowed myself to have one of them. That Ellie had them as a treat in the thing, and it broke me. And it just broke this downhill slide from there out of that Goldilocks zone. You can't hold it forever. The other time, like I think I was speaking about it earlier in the podcast, was just everything was easy. I was so fit that everything, weight or strength, or that didn't matter because everything was easy. But after that, now with surfing and everything like that for myself, at the moment where I'm at, it's not about getting to that Goldilocks zone again. It's about prolonging. How long can I surf for now at that level on big swell days? With my shoulders half gone and my paddle power going, I'm like, what do I need to do? I need to do all those 1%ers completely 100% correct to be able to do what I used to do easy in that Goldilocks zone. You wouldn't even second guess. Like I'd paddle out behind the rocket snapper and just edge further and further. Who can get deeper? Now I went to do that the other day on the big swell, and first time ever, I was a little bit hesitant. I was like, what am I doing? What's going on? You should be there. Why aren't you there? Why aren't you there? Why aren't you there? Why aren't you there? The body just wasn't there. Like the mentality was, I wanted to go, but the body and the reaction time and everything that you need for it to be in that position, it wasn't there. And that was like the first time I've ever felt tentative or a little bit to stay back, especially in surfing.
Yeah.
I've never had that feeling before. And I think as we go older, like you said, and you drift out of that Goldilocks zone, that perfect zone, it's about prolonging what you love to do, not being.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
And you just got to find something that you can do and just enjoy it as much as you can. And like when fighting finished for me, I didn't think that it would affect me at all, really. But as soon as I sort of finished fighting, I went through like a bit of a midlife crisis. I think now looking back, I think it was like a bit of a midlife crisis where all of a sudden I had no
Identity.
that. And when you're training and fighting, you've always got something in the pipeline to like be training for, looking for. So you've always got like a goal. And then as soon as that stopped, I was like, oh, I'll just be a trainer and I'll just be here for the boys. And I did do that for a few years, but it sounds selfish, but because you've not got the goals there for yourself, like well, for me personally, I just found things to worry about that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like anxiety. That's why I love running so much, because it's given me something to aim at. Like, and the best thing about running is you don't have to be an Olympian. You just have to try and be better
Than yourself.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean being faster. You can use the age grade system in parkrun. Like, so every year as you get older, you just try and improve your age grade percentage. And
what's that? I haven't even heard of that, because I just run on my own. Once on Saturday with the boys. Obviously 3 a.m. No one wants to get up and run with me then. But I enjoy that. That's what I love about running. But what's that? Just quickly on that age gauge system, how does it
at parkrun?
How does parkrun work? Just tap into that quickly.
Parkrun is a free Saturday 5K like fun run, walk, jog, whatever around the world. It's in just nearly every country now. And every Saturday morning they do it all over the world, Europe, Asia, everywhere. But in Australia, it's usually 7 a.m. and if you just search parkrun on the internet, you log in, create an account. It's fully free. You can print out a barcode, or you can download your barcode to your watch. Like, so I have mine on my Garmin, and then you run your 5K. They scan your barcode, scan your finishing ticket thing they give you, and then you get emailed, your time, position, age grade percentage. And I think they calculate the age grade percentage off of your age and the world record for 5K or something like that.
Yeah, right.
It's not many people really know exactly how they do it, but the quicker you run and the older you run, the higher your age grade will be. So it makes it evens out. So you could be 18 years old and win parkrun by 3 minutes, but the guy who come 20th might beat you on the age grade because he's
66.
60. Yeah.
Like your old man.
Yeah,
he can motor, can't he?
He's just killing it, and that's good because they've got that. It just gives you something to still be kind of competitive with, without it being deathly.
Do they have weight divisions?
No,
they need to bring in weight division. I'd dominate. I'm 110 at the moment.
You'd win on the weight. Yeah,
dominate the 110 division. No one catching me in a half marathon or a 5K. So, but yeah, I've like you said, back to the goals, and after that, I don't know how many, myself included, lost that identity. Like rugby league, you go from a team mentality, especially rugby league, gym, training, wrestling, sheds after. It's just boy time. It's guys around there. And then once you retire and you leave that club, you're nearly tentative to even go back to the club, like and into those sheds. It's like it's over. And then unless you're a coach or anything like that, like you might feel welcome because there's still a couple of boys that you played with, and but once they've finished playing, like I have no connection to rugby league. I can't even remember when I touched a rugby league ball.
Yeah,
like honestly I can't remember the last time I touched it. It's insanely weird, and that I went through that whole period as well, like not forgetting, but why am I doing things and everything? And I had to remember that no, I am an athlete. And that's what I love doing. And I love training. So you just need to find a new purpose to do it. Yeah. And it comes back to that age old. I always thought when I was a kid, it doesn't matter what I want to be. I can be it. All it is time. Now, do we have infinity amount of time on this planet? No. If I wanted to be an astronaut, it'd probably take me, I could be, not whether I got selected to go up there, but I could be an astronaut by the time I'm 60, 70. I just got to study for 30 years and put in, 14-hour days every day. And I will be an astrophysicist and know how to, fly a rocket. That's no drama. but do I want to dedicate my life to that? And there's so many things now. So it's about finding that balance, but it's also about finding that new identity. And like you said, after you left fighting, you're still hanging around the gym, but you don't have those, or you see people fighting and you got that itch or the urge. And I say that to all my mates. I said that to Mitchy Rain. I was having a chat to Mitchy Rain the other day. You know, he's been a 200-game NRL player. Unbelievable, phenomenon. One of the best ball to ground passes, hookers you've ever seen. And he was sort of itching and inkling.
200 games. How many years would that be?
Say you play 20 games a year, you know, not injured. So that's a 10-year career at least in the NRL. Yeah, it's probably more because you don't play all 20.
Yeah,
so he's probably had a 14-year.
Yeah,
he's 30. I can't remember his age at the moment, but he's down at Parramatta at the moment, and Parra's got a really good hooker in front of him. But he doesn't miss a beat in the NRL, and he's sort of thinking about hanging up the boots. And he's the last one of our mates who's still playing footy, you know, loves rugby league. And I just said to him, I said, mate, you don't stop until it's out of your blood, until you can't stand the smell of deep heat, until you cannot, you know, lace up your football boots. Looking at your football boots make you sick, and touching a ball makes you sick, because you are a long time retired, a very long time. And you can sit there in the armchair and watch and tell it how it should be for the next 30, 40 years. That's fine. But until you're done, until you're absolutely 100% done, you rock up every day, you go to training, and you need to find that enjoyment, that breath, you know. You start seeing things differently. You're not hunting for a spot or for goals or for achievement, but you start appreciating what you actually enjoyed about the game, and what you actually enjoyed about, you know, being around all these mates and friends and family, and the journey that your family has come on with you. Because, you know, being a wag, you know, it's a lot of time sacrificed. Even with fighting, you know, they don't see you if you're training so that X amount of time. It's such a hard lifestyle. And you don't realize that until you're at the back end of your career. And then you start realizing, wow, the time that your parents have put in. You know, my dad always speaks about loving coming to just one more game. I wouldn't mind seeing one more game, you know, of you playing. I just used to love that Saturday, Sunday. You know, he goes, every watching you. He goes, when you stop playing, he goes, I got lucky because I got to surf with you, which was just as good. You know, we'd sit out 3 or 4 hours and he'd watch me surf. But he goes, you know, watching you progress back into rugby league and being able to go there Saturday, Sunday, rain and sunshine and good game, bad game. And he's seen, he's seen my best game. He was there for my best game, and he was there for my worst game too. Yeah. And we laugh and joke about it today. But as soon as that was done, it was where do I go? It was like, and, you know, a lot of 30-year-olds, a lot of middle-aged men who don't understand that next process or the next stage in life, especially young men who don't have a family yet, who don't have that kid and that responsibility. It's a lost. You know, it's really, I don't know. I think that transition.
Footy and fighting are probably very similar in that you just, fighting's probably worse because there's always some promoter who will put them like older guys on. But guys just, like when you walk out of the changing room, when you walk out of your corner and the crowd goes nuts and they're cheering you and that, like you get so addicted to that. And then when you lose that, that's why so many old fighters they retire and then they're like, oh, I'm going to have another go a few months later. And then they go on too long and then end up with like brain damage and stuff. Yeah. And it's just,
what do you think about that? Yeah. What do you think about that? With the head knocks, like how many do you reckon? I tried to break these down in numbers the other week with my brother. I think rugby league is worse for the brain. Like, okay, you're sparring how many times a week?
Yeah. Well,
like how many times you
do a lot of like tippy tap sparring, but then maybe once a week you're throwing them pretty hard.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole, I believe fighting's more risky. And that instant knockout, I mean, you see people in the NRL these days, you know, get your head in the wrong spot, you get a hip, you get a knee, you're gone, a head clash, you're gone. But you're physically trying to knock someone out. So there's a different playing field, a different level to it. But they call it that shake. So your brain doesn't have a seatbelt. It's like that egg in the water glass. Great movie, Concussion, Will Smith. I don't know about Will Smith anymore.
To watch it, but yeah.
But it's just they basically get a glass and they put an egg in there with water and they shake it. And they shake it. And there's no shell around it. And that's your brain. Yeah. There's no seatbelt in your brain. So that impact in rugby league shakes. So that just shakes. Your brain's going like that. And you tackle every training. You're always just that impact. And this is where the NFL gets so bad, because the impact of rugby league like that, you might get 1 or 2 or 3 plays where if you're 4 tackles in a row, if you're a tackler. But if you're a center out there or a fullback, you're getting 1 every set of 6. So, it might be the 40 sets of 6, you might be getting 40 shakes every game. And, during the week, you're doing 4 or 5 sessions. So you're 300 shakes a week, I worked out on your brain.
Yeah.
Now, you look at the NFL.
They just go.
Well, it's more one-on-one. So
Yeah.
every play is a one-on-one. If you're an outside receiver, you're trying to beat them. If you're a blocker, you're blocking 2 or 3. If you're a running back, you're trying to get through. If you're quarterback, you're probably the only one who doesn't get that shake. But every play is a shake for every player across the field. So it ends up being the impact is 50,000 times more hard, and the shake is, I think we worked out it was like 900 or 1,100 again, like completely different a week. It might even mean 1,500 a week. Like, just because at training, they're doing impact, one-on-one, impact. So that's why you see all that CTT and all the stuff coming out about the NFL players. You add, head contact in and the helmets back in the day, gone. But then you translate that into fighting, and now fighting is more dangerous, as in there's a lethal department to it, and, getting knocked out and that. But I always think about this with my boy, with Sonny. What would I prefer him to do? And it's nearly fighting. It's nearly boxing. Apart from that, Floyd Mayweather's best at it, not getting hit. If you can,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, if you can not get hit,
get him to like a really good coach that teaches him how to be slippery and just miss. And that's the good thing about Thai boxing is it's a lot of it you get to the body, like you kicked in the legs. I mean, you'd be crazy to say you don't get smacked in the head, because of course you do. But that was the main reason I stopped was because I was really worried about all that stuff. But there was a moment where I was at a fight show. I think I might have had 1 or 2 fights after this, but I was having a conversation with a guy I've known for years, and I won't say his name, but he was a really well-known fighter locally. And I just noticed he had a bit of a slur in his speech. Like, you could only just pick it up on certain words. And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to be like that. And then that was the moment I checked out. Like, even though I had I think maybe only had 1 or 2 more fights after that, but
seed was planted.
I was like, oh man, I don't want that to happen to me. I could just really put me off. And then I thought, I'm done. Like, I actually thought, I'm done. Like, I don't want to. I was worried about it, and then I just made a decision. I'm going to train as hard as I can and be as smart as I can, try and not get hit. So even when we would go sparring at the gym, and this is where I realised that I should have stopped, because I wasn't even thinking about how well I went in sparring. I was thinking how many shots I didn't get hit with. Like, I'd get away. I'd be driving home going, yes, didn't even get clipped. Like,
yeah, right.
And then I realized, oh man, you can't have that mentality doing this sport. Like, so that's when I won the last fight I won, I was like, done. No
so
more.
What was that, and where was that?
It was the first WACO tournament in Australia. So WACO is like a European sanctioning body from Europe that's now in Australia. But it was the first WACO or WACO tournament that they had. And I was supposed to be in a 4-man. So it was supposed to be 2 fights in the night. So if you won, you go on to the next fight, and then you fight again. And then on the day, one guy pulled out. So there was 3 of us. And then they were going to draw names out of a hat to see who was, like, someone was going to get a bye to the final. And I was like, oh man, I don't feel good about that. If I get a bye straight to the final and win, and I'm fighting a guy who's already beaten up, like, I just didn't feel right about it. But then luckily the more inexperienced guy out of the 4 of us said, oh, I'll just step out. So then I fought a guy from Sydney, and I won on points. And that was I was really happy with the performance.
Technical, I understood what was going on in there.
I was thinking the whole time. I didn't throw anything wild, didn't do anything. Like sometimes I would throw a left head kick and fall over or something. Like my support leg would slip and I'd end up on my backside, and I'd have had a really good fight, and I'd be watching a DVD and think, oh, if only I hadn't fallen over, it was pretty much flawless. But that last one, I didn't make any mistakes, and I was like, that's a good way to go out.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. Even though I was so tempted because your phone keeps ringing, and you're like, that's a good opportunity. But I was like, no, that's it, done. And it was at the point where like my wife was wanting to have kids and stuff, and I was like, because the whole way through my career, she would say, don't have any more fights. Make sure this is the last one. And I'd be like, oh, do you want to have a baby yet? And she'd be like, nah. And I'd be like, oh, well, I'm gonna keep going. Like, yeah, like I was
when you say yes, that's I'll change tune.
When you're ready to settle down, I will too. And, and then then we've had 2 boys since, and they're just they're the greatest thing ever.
Mate, how good's being a dad?
It's the best.
Yeah,
like I know everyone says that, and when you don't have kids and people say, it's the best thing ever,
Yeah.
And you think, whatever. But it is, eh?
It's the best. Okay, it's the best being a dad. I don't know about being a mum.
Yeah.
They got a tough deal, the women, I tell you. Like, hats off. Your mentality immediately changes once they give birth, and the stuff that they do behind the scenes, like in the home. And I've got full different views now on, chicks who want to have careers and stuff like that. I'm like, you got no idea. Like, just if you're going to have kids in the future, don't go waste $200,000 at uni and think that you need to have a career. Like, that is the sole purpose of you, and there's nothing better. There more power to women for it, and the women who are out there who are great mothers, I think, is the best thing in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
That it is. They should be protected in every way, because I could not do it.
And what they go through in the actual birth is just.
It's such a raw deal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why every time we have a boy, we're like, yes, boy. But I'm scared now. If I don't have a daughter next with Elle, I think I'm going to have to go again until she gets one. So I could end up with like 7 kids. So
that's how we were. And the second one was a boy, and I was like, if we have another one, chances are it'll be another boy.
Yeah, and then in comes Kia minivan.
Yeah,
the bus.
I mean, I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they just wrestle and fight and play, and it's just chaos. Like, I can't imagine 3.
Well, you start, and you need to give them the time that they deserve coming up as well. And I think that those big families, your brothers and sisters become your fathers. They all look after each other. I've seen people with big families that they're great. They get along. But as a dad, I'd really like, once it get to 3, it's hard to invest time in each kid, and 4, it's even harder. Like, I just don't know how they do it. But a quick story about that. Bluey, my best mate, Dane Blewett, got a 3-year-old daughter, a 2 to 3-year-old daughter, and through COVID, they've been trying for another kid, and he couldn't go to the meeting, the ultrasound meeting. Goes, whatever you do, don't come home with 2. And his missus comes home and just splits the ultrasound. There's twins in there. And he goes, I don't want to know. We're not finding out. So he was like living on the edge of his seat for 8 months to find out if he was going to have 2 boys and a girl or 3 girls. And imagine him just having 3 daughters.
What did he have?
He got the boys. He got Harry and Ace.
He got 2 boys.
Yeah, he got Harry and Ace. So, but like that conversation, like I was cheering. I was tearing up. I was just like, I don't know if you could survive 3. So shout out to Bluey and that, and having twins. But that would be my worst, 2 kids and then go for a daughter and then having twins. Like, that would be insane. I wanted twins first too, as well. I was like, let's have twins. I'd love to have 2 kids run around and do it first, but I wouldn't want to do it after having a couple of kids. That'd be, or having a kid and actually understand. And like, when you don't have kids, you don't understand what's coming. So you just deal with it. But now that I know what's involved, I just would dread having twins.
Like nights and nights of you just never get proper sleep. One of them will have a nightmare, wake up. So like, I sleep like a log, but if I get woken up, then I'll have trouble getting back to sleep again.
I'm gone.
Same. You're getting up at 3 a.m. Like, you can't afford to be missing out any sleep. Yeah.
No, I need that sleep. And as soon as that goes, or as soon as there's more stress with work or anxiety, or, getting this thing off the ground or whatever it is, or, my diet slipped, that affects my sleep. And in turn, by the end of the week, I am just a different human being because I have not caught up on that. So the last thing I want to touch base on it within fighting and that with you, and we were talking about our sons and, family now, but would you ever let your kids do it? Would you ever let them get into it? And do they know that dad has won a Queensland and Australian title? Because for me, and I've spoken about this a couple of times in the podcast, I loved having a younger dad. Dad had me, mum was 18, dad was 20. And I was a backpack kid. I just went
Yeah.
everywhere. I got to see dad's every game of footy. I get to watch him surf like amazingly. And then I was entrenched in that,
Yeah.
you know. But now that I'm an older father, like Sonny wouldn't even know that I played rugby league at a certain level. He wouldn't know that I've ever had fights. He'd see me surf a couple of times, you know, or the photos on the wall, and that's dad. So I'm trying to, you know, all these stuff is entrenched in my DNA because I was able to just be a backpack and a witness of it all, and that's how it became. So I'm struggling to. Do I put him into boxing because he loves watching the boxing on Sundays with me? That's where he loves going to the skate park. But what's your take on, you know, and do your kids know that you've got Australian and Queensland titles?
Yeah, they call it punch boxing. Like they say, oh, there's your punch boxing trophies and that. And I've taken them to the gym. Like, I mean, Frankie came to the gym with me when he was, you know, couldn't even walk. And then he came when he could walk. But they muck around with it. But I'd never want to force them into doing anything. But I think it's good for kids to learn just the basics of it because it just teaches you how to defend yourself. You know, if you got someone at school bullying you, like, you know, if someone's bullying your kid, you got my permission to, you know, defend yourself. Like
100%.
Not condoning violence.
No, you're not saying instigate it, but you're definitely saying no. You're okay, mate.
It's better that than be the victim of a bully because kids can be ruthless.
Can't they? What? And kids that are scared as well are the worst ones. So if they understand that, you know, this is how you defend yourself and this is power and this is how, you know, and they have that feeling, I think then they control the situation a lot better and they can walk away a lot more times rather than being, you know, scared, not knowing fight or flight sort of zone. So, yeah, but it's still that you can take them there and that, but, you know, they didn't watch you do the six a weeks. With a Sunday off. They didn't watch you sweat and have to sit in the corner of the gym and have fun and create their own. Look, I created my own fun down the footy field for like 4 or 5 hours every weekend, every Saturday, because Dad would warm up, would go down there for reserve grade. I'd be the ball boy. I'd want to get down there and ball boys for the 19s, reserve grade 20, because I'd get an extra $2. So then he'd have to come down to footy, you know, at the beginning of the, you know, be there for an extra 4 hours because I wanted to be there. Yeah, it's a different feeling, you know what I mean? Like being an older father.
They come to a lot of the running races and that, so that at least they're seeing like me and my wife Tammy. She runs as well.
Yeah.
So they get to see that we're both active. And I think that's a good thing because a lot of kids grow up with their parents just not doing any kind of sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice for them to be there when I won. Probably not when I lost. Tammy actually only came to one fight ever. She just couldn't handle.
Yeah, right.
She just never wanted to show up. And I ended up winning that night. But, I mean, some guys are encouraging their wives to come and watch. But, like, I'm not going to lie, it sort of rattled me knowing she was there. Like, you know, because I kind of was, like, happy I could accept the fact that there's a possibility I'll get really hurt. And I was okay with that. But then thinking that your wife might see it, it was like, it put a bit of a negative, like a bit of pressure on me mentally.
Yeah.
And even when I walked out, I knew the area that she was stood in the crowd. So I just tried not to look in that direction.
Yeah.
Like once the fight started, I didn't really think about it again. But when I walked out, jumped in the ring, kind of walked around, you know, like waving to everyone, I sort of just
you didn't want to see the fear in her eye.
Yeah.
You.
In case she was really scared, then it would have upset me. So
because you would want to be there and say, no, look, it's okay. Like, and take 5 minutes out of your focus to reassure her it's okay. Yeah, wow, hectic. Well, mate, I've got one more thing before we wrap it up. Just stay here. Hold on for 2 secs.
Yeah. Oh, sick. What's this?
Here we go. Everyone gets a ribeye steak.
Oh,
probably
nice.
Sponsors, so there you go.
Oh, look at that.
That's a Barbie one. This is salt and pepper. Cut these ones up. You know, get in some of those middle bits. One of those. Wow. Thank you so much for coming down, and great to see you again.
Yeah, man.
And
it's been excellent.
So the Gold Coast Marathon is
6 weeks away.
6 weeks.
Might even be 5 weeks, actually. Yeah.
That means my wedding's 6 weeks. So we're getting married the week after the marathon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm trying to I'm doing the podcast, I'm running the business and construction company, organising a wedding and training for a marathon at the moment. It's fucking
busy.
Yeah, and trying to build an investment home. It's my life is insane, but I wouldn't have it any other way, mate. I'd love to get you back on and get your insights on running and breaking that 3. I know your podcast has probably done many on a run of it, and everyone can jump over and have a look. Eat, Sleep, Run, Repeat, found on all the Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast.
Yeah,
just an audio one.
Yep, just audio.
Yep.
Every week. Usually drop it around sort of Monday, Tuesday at the latest if we've been slack.
Yeah. So, and just for everyone at home, it just gives you an insight into, I shouldn't say average runner because you're not by any means an average runner, but it gives you an insight into some training, you talk to people about that and, just pick up little tips and trips along the way. So,
yeah,
mate, once again, love having you on. Thanks heaps, Steve Woolley. I'll get all the links to his show there that you can go have a look. And then, of course, guys, give the Any Given Chance podcast a pump up. Give it a like and share. That's how we grow. Get your friends and family involved and get them to give it a like and share, and we'll spread it around as far as we can go. Cheers.
awesome. Thanks for having me.